My partner Alex and I decided to visit my parents back in Michigan for a long weekend. Honestly, we just needed some space, so staying at my parents' place was a hard pass. Let's just say years of unresolved family tension make for a terrible vacation. We found this Airbnb about a 15-minute drive away. It was a cute, compact, one-bedroom apartment, completely renovated and very chic. A little pricey, but worth the privacy. The host seemed lovely, all 5-star reviews, except for a few mentions that sent a prickle of unease down my spine. The negative comments all centered on the neighbor, specifically strange, uncomfortable interactions with the person next door. I've dealt with eccentric people before, so I didn't want to judge, but I contacted the host anyway. She was very dismissive. She claimed the neighbor was just overly protective and a little nosy, sometimes getting defensive when new guests arrived. She promised to notify the neighbor that we were staying and what we looked like, assuring me everything will be perfectly fine. I shouldn't have believed her. The sheer relief of not having to sleep on my childhood bed made me ignore my gut. The day we arrived was uneventful. We met the host, got the keys, and spent the evening at my parents'. I definitely had a few too many glasses of wine to survive the evening, and by 10 p.m., Alex and I were desperate to escape back to our rented sanctuary. As we pulled into the parking lot, the atmosphere changed instantly. The complex was small, 4 units total, 2 upstairs, 2 downstairs. Ours was the top left unit. But as Alex parked, I saw her. A small, dark figure silhouetted between the drawn curtains of the top right apartment window. I felt a sudden cold wave of dread. Who just stands there, in the dark, watching? Alex and I got out of the car, and as we walked toward the entrance, I looked up again. She was still there, still staring. As we got closer, her features became horrifyingly clear. She had that look, a pure, unsettling intensity. Her sparse, tangled gray hair seemed almost to stand on end. Her eyes were wide, unnervingly focused, and she had this deep, agonized frown etched into her face. She had to be in her late 60s, but the anger radiating from her made her seem ancient and volatile. Alex fumbled with the key to the main entry door. The moment we stepped inside, my heart crashed into my ribs. Standing silent halfway up the stairs to our apartment was the neighbor. She was short and round, but her arms and legs looked alarmingly thin, like fragile sticks supporting a weighted body. She said nothing, just stood there, guarding the top of the stairs. Her gaze locked at us with an expression of pure, unadulterated hostility. We exchanged a terrified glance. Alex grabbed my hand, and we started walking up. Every step was agonizing. She watched us the entire way, her creepy eyes following our ascent. To my amazement, she didn't utter a single word. Alex scrambled to enter the code, and we practically dove inside, slamming the door shut. "What the hell was that?" Alex whispered, his face pale with shock. "I don't know," I managed, trying to steady my breath, but I'm just glad she didn't try to engage. We tried to calm down. We settled into bed, assuring ourselves she was just odd and she wouldn't bother us through a locked door. Then, at nearly 4 a.m., the banging started. It was violent, non-stop, and sickeningly loud right on our front door. My eyes flew open. Alex was already bolt upright, his face a mask of terror. The pounding lasted for maybe a minute, an eternity of pure, primal fear. And then, dead silence. Alex tiptoed toward the door. "I'm gonna check the people," he whispered, his voice trembling. I trailed silently behind him, my adrenaline pumping. He put his eye to the glass, looked back at me, his brow furrowed in utter bewilderment. He slowly, cautiously opened the door just a crack to look outside. Then I heard him gasp, but choked, horrified sound. "What? What is it?" I whispered, my voice ragged. Alex didn't answer. He just pointed a shaking finger downward. Lying right on our welcome mat were 3 dead mice, completely gutted. 2 were headless. They looked fresh, deliberately placed, and sickeningly morbid. It was a clear, malicious threat. He slammed the door shut and locked the deadbolt. We were both speechless, gripped by a cold, stomach-churning revulsion. We immediately agreed to call the host and the police first thing in the morning. I couldn't sleep. The image of those mutilated creatures kept flashing in my mind. At 6:30 a.m., defeated, I got up to make coffee, desperate for the light of dawn. As I did, I heard the neighbor's door slam shut across the hall. Instinctively, I looked out the kitchen window, which overlooked the parking lot, hoping to see. And there she was, standing perfectly still, staring intently at our parked car. Not at the windows, not looking for us, but just focused, like a predator analyzing its prey. She stood there for what felt like an hour, her focus absolute. Then slowly, painfully, she turned her head and looked directly at me. I jumped back, a panicked cry catching in my throat. Immediately I heard it, a shrill, blood-curdling shriek from outside, a sound of pure, unhinged distress and madness, like she was being attacked by invisible forces. Alex ran out of the bedroom, alarm and confusion etched deep into his features. We both peered out the window. The neighbor was now gripping her head with both hands, screaming hysterically at the driver's side window of our car. Then she grabbed the top of the car and began violently banging her head against the metal, screaming, "They never leave! When will they leave? Why do they keep coming?" This wasn't just anger, this was a terrifying mental break. I grabbed my phone and started recording for evidence, my hands shaking uncontrollably, while Alex immediately called the police, then the host. By the time the officers arrived, she had collapsed, weeping on the asphalt next to our car, which miraculously only had minor dents. The host was profusely apologetic and completely horrified, claiming this level of breakdown had never happened before. She refunded our entire trip. We watched through the window, tears of relief and residual shock streaming down my face, as the police finally managed to handcuff the neighbor and gently lead her away, though it took a heartbreaking amount of time to get her to comply. We never found out her name or what her true issue was, but I have my own unsettling theory. Something deep inside her finally snapped, and by pure awful chance, we were the strangers who'd been there to witness it. Now, I don't just read the reviews when booking an Airbnb. I obsess over them. Because one bad review isn't just a nuisance. It might be the only warning you get before you come face to face with genuine, unsettling madness.